It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show.
Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 47. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is September 3rd, 2023, and this is a very special episode. We are in a remote location, and we have a friend of the show and a friend of real life here on the show today, and that is Sanfee.
What's up, everybody?
We have the Sanfee family here in the background.
Hey.
We got the dogs, and we're going to have a great episode. So this is the official first guest on the Dep Lewis Show.
Happy to be here.
Show all about video games and much more. So it's going to be a regular episode, but we're just going to have a guest here, and it's going to be double the fun. So that is the plan for today. We're here recording this show in this wild house, and then we're going to go out and get dinner later, and that's the plan here in our life. So first up, we're just going to get down to a little bit of housekeeping, tell these people what to do, Sanfee, because I need them to support me.
Love it.
So follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, review, turn on notifications, tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell a dog, squirrel, bird, anyone that can press play on a podcast. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, review, turn on notifications, said that already. Email any questions or feedback to DepLewisShow@gmail.com. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Patreon, and more on my Buzzsprout page. Clips of the show are on YouTube and TikTok. Twitch.tv/DepLewisShow is a great place to follow. And then Patreon.com/DepLewisShow is the best place to follow and support, but we'll talk about that at the end. So we're going to have a normal show. We're going to talk about what we've been playing in the first section. The mid section, we're going to smoke on some mid. We're going to talk about all the news across the video game landscape. So we call it the mid section. And depending on how much news we have is how much mid we're smoking. So
Okay.
I'd say we're probably smoking a mid amount of mid this week.
A mid amount of mid.
And then the final section is the Miscellaneous talk section, where I talk about anything I want to outside of video games. So it's usually sports and comedy and, if I read a book or something. But, you'll have to wait and see what we're going to get to at the end here.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, so I hope the audio is good for everybody out there. One more thing. Let's shout out Mr. Miscellaneous, the great music creator of this show. It is his day of birth today, and if you're listening in real time, I think he's working, then he's going out to celebrate, so let's shout out Miscellaneous, and all the millions of viewers need to go shout him out and wish him happy birthday, and another great year of living, and just want to say that up top. So, that fool's working, and we're here doing this podcast. So, all right, so no notes from last show, so let's get right into it. So, all right, just a little more backstory on Sanfee here. He's been my friend for forever. We've played video games for forever, so, he's the perfect complement to talk video games with. We play a lot of the same things, had a lot of the same video game addictions over the course of life, and, he has a family and a child, so, he has to get his video game time in more sparingly, but he's still an avid gamer. Ashley over there, you heard for a second. Ooh, I said, we'll call her Angel, actually.
Oh God.
Angel. Angel over there. She's like a Zelda player, and so there's a lot of video gamers in our crew, but we're here today to talk about Armored Core.
Ooh.
Armored Core 6, The Fires of Rubicon.
So good.
I think it's one of the cooler video game names of the year. And this is a third-person mech video game developed by From Software. And I'm going to just tell some backstory stuff, and then we'll get into what we think about it. So if these people don't know, this is a series that centers on a silent protagonist. And you can probably check some of this more than me, since I think you played 15, 20 hours, more than that.
I've got a pretty good bit. I'm at least midway through the third chapter, if not getting towards the end of it. So, I'm cooking pretty good.
And I'm probably 5 hours, 10 hours in. I've been replaying a lot of the early stuff, so I haven't seen too many things.
Yeah.
I've been kind of a little bit of wuss just replaying those, but maybe I've done some of that too, so we'll get into that. But this centers on a silent protagonist who takes on works as a mercenary pilot in the far future, operating large combat units known as armored cores at the behest of corporate and private clients. So you're kind of like a free-for-all merc in this game.
Yep.
And they're hiring you to go complete these missions, and customizing your armored core is one of the big things. So you want to gain credits to improve your armored core and unlock further opportunities to make money. There's also some multiplayer stuff, but I haven't touched on that. So just so you know, that's involved in there. Let's see. Armored Core history. This first game in the series was 1997. There's several different story continuities exist, apparently, spread across 13 main games, 7 spin-offs, and 3 remastered re-releases. with different releases divided by different sets of generations. So it's pretty crazy. There's that many entries. Have you played any of them?
No, the last one I played was 4.
Do you remember what console?
We played pretty hard. It was on PlayStation 2, I think.
Okay, because I was reading, they say this series has been released on PlayStation, PlayStation 2, mobile phones, PlayStation Portable, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, 5, Windows, Xbox One, and Series X and S.
So everything. Man, it was before we were in college.
So the 2000s, early 2000s, you were playing it?
Maybe it wasn't 4, because I think 4 came out in like 05. No, that would have tracked, because I think it would have been right about the same.
And I never knew this game was developed by the same people that do like Demon Souls and Elden Ring, like all those difficult games.
I didn't know it until 6, until Fires of Rubicon. When I was hearing that, they made it on the same engine and everything, and I was like, oh, that seems kind of crazy. And then you kind of read a little bit more into it, and you're like, oh, it's the same people that have been doing it forever. Which kind of tracks, because it's a hard game. I mean, it's not a fluffy game.
It's difficult.
And that keeps totally in line with my experiences with Elden Ring, especially in terms of just making a game, producing a game.
It like takes mastery of it, but those other games are open world, so I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's different, this is, I guess, always been level based, and it makes sense.
It's always been very linear. All your levels are you're very much brought from position 1 to position 2 to position 3, and then all of your levels are pretty linear. There's very few ways to shoot off, which is definitely different in that regard. But just visually, the game's been really, really attractive. Like I said, from my experience, Elden Ring was a very visually appealing game too. And I mean, it's a really sharp looking game, but it is very different from those other titles.
Yeah, and there's like I would say there's like one podcast that talks about like video games being dewy versus talky, and dewy means like more you're just playing the game, and talky's like listening to dialogue and combat stuff. I would think this one's pretty dewy. There's a lot of I'm kind of trying to say there's not much story to this really.
Well, so I think a lot of it is kind of like subtext.
Just to get you doing cool stuff with your mech and upgrading them.
But I mean, even so, like you said, your actual pilot is completely silent, which is at least so far. I say everything that I say about this is going to be so far.
Yeah, we're not. We're just video. Yeah, we just like some video games. Always double check us or whatever. But,
but
it's just people's take on it.
The dude that your handler they introduce you to Handler Walter, who's the guy who kind of like lines up all of your work. He's really the only guy that like speaks for you or gives your pilot any sort of like personality, but even he's a guy of like very few words. So there's definitely not a lot of like big long cutscenes where they go on and on. And
I don't know if it matters or not, but I have this like back of the box story stuff on it, so I'm gonna read this right here.
Yeah.
And just kind of sets the tone for what's going on. And I mean, I think you get a little bit of story, but some of this is kind of cool. So it's set in a future where humanity has developed an interstellar civilization. They're on the frontier planet of Rubicon 3, and there's a substance called coral. Is that Coral? Is it coral?
Coral, yeah, coral.
It was discovered that could be used both as energy source and a data conduit. It was hailed as the key to humanity's technological advancement, but instead it caused a cataclysmic event known as the Fires of Ibis, which engulfed the planet and the surrounding star system in flames and left behind a lethal contaminant. So all coral in existence was thought to have been consumed by the disaster. 50 years later, however, signs of coral are now once again detected on Rubicon 3. Corporations are flocking to exploit the planet and control this. Heedless of the cost and the harm to the inhabitants, and mercenaries follow to profit from the conflict. So the player is an augmented human designated C4621. So I do call you 621 a good bit through this.
621 is your name for a good bit of it.
Yeah, who is in servitude to an infamous handler named Walter, who you mentioned, and fights as an Armored Corps pilot on the promise of entering a new life by taking on mercenary jobs. And after illegally landing on Rubicon 3, C4621 steals the license of a deceased mercenary and assumes their call sign Raven. So, it's weird to see it all typed out or read it all typed out like that. But I definitely remember the C621 or the 621, the Raven thing, and a little bit of the coral of what that kind of like the overarching tone of that thing, right? So now that's all the stuff I had prepared, like talking about backstory about this game. So Armored Corps has been around a long time. This is my first entry. This is Sanfee's second entry. I think it's a lot of people's first entry to the series, which is pretty good.
Well, I mean, they took a 10-year break, so yeah, they missed a lot of continuity there. So I'm sure it's a lot of people just getting kind of psyched up about it because it's a new console game or a new generation game that looks so good. It's kind of different from a lot of the stuff that we play. So I'm sure they got a lot of like new players.
And
in this.
it has a big fan base, and then
And
then you have the recent success from Software's other games that is like makes it a pretty good crescendo into like having a like hopefully good sales and things like that. And I listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff too, and it seems pretty favorable. And I think people are liking this game more and more as people are playing it too. I haven't heard too much negative besides it's not open world, but I don't know if that's fair to say put on this. And that's really the only complaint I've heard. Minus sometimes these games are just too hard for people, like Demon Souls, and
it is tough.
I'm almost in that category. I'm not a huge like hardcore push my head against things, but I do find something fun in these games and trying them. But
and I think that's I kind of talked on that for a little bit before. I really enjoy that the game almost seems to reward your ability to build your mech to suit your challenge as much, if not more, than it will reward your ability to pilot your mech. So like, there's definitely been challenges that I have just been too stubborn to go back and change my mech, and I've just like forced my way through with my particular build. But then like I'll go through and I'll replay it with a different build with a different mech, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, that was just way easier. Like why did I do that to myself? And like it's kind of changed how I approach the game because. I told you when I played 4, like I was very much a one-dimensional player. Like I only.
That's how I've been so far in this, and maybe that's the way you're gonna tackle it most of the time. First trying it, but like it's probably not the smartest thing.
That's how I've done it. You mentioned I have to be a little bit more choosy about when I play video games.
Yeah.
So I try not to be wasting an hour trying to do thing one way if there's a chance that it'll make it easier if I do it another way. And I very much had that response on a couple of those. A couple of those bosses are just hard, dude. I mean, the game is tough.
So you've seen more in this than I have. So here's kind of where I'm at in this game, and then we'll kind of talk about where you're at. So I have a little bit of my thoughts written down. And I was just saying my first core memory of this game is that airship battle. So that was the introduction to getting your ass kicked in this game. And ever since then, I've played maybe there's 4 or 5 missions after that I've played, and I've been rerunning them. Nothing's been that hard.
Yeah.
And that's been the only level so far in that style of having, it was a long mission with a checkpoint, and then it had a huge boss at the end. So I guess you've seen more of those at this point, but I was happy to see that it switched kind of back the tone of more normal missions after that, because that was a grind for me to get over that and then keep on moving. So after that, I've just been farming those early levels and replaying them. I've gotten a couple of S ranks on them on some of those first early ones, and it's allowed me to spec my mech out. So I'm just kind of playing this like I do a lot in real life, just being a little bit of a wuss and making sure I'm as much as equipped as I can or leveled so I go out there and do these missions.
I mean, it's like playing Witcher immediately came to mind, where you just grind so many of the side quests that by the time you come back to the main line and you're just like, oh man, this is wicked easy because I'm like so overpowered for doing the main ones. And like, I don't think that that's necessarily the case, but it is really nice for me and probably from where you are, because you've obviously made a bunch of money. You probably bought some good pieces and everything. But like, if you run into a point that it's difficult and it gives you a checkpoint and it lets you can go back and you can respec your mech in the middle of the mission.
Okay.
So when you hit a checkpoint, it gives you the opportunity to go back to assembly, and you could completely change your robot in the middle of the mission. And in doing that, if you already have that stuff and you already have that stuff bought, you have a lot of versatility. If all of a sudden you could have been perfectly built to get yourself to the checkpoint, and then the first thing you run into after the checkpoint is wicked hard.
Are you immediately how quickly are you recognizing that your build is not working? Because that's something I feel like I'll be bad at recognizing.
So like when I play a lot, you'll see. I mean, sometimes they'll even give you kind of audio clues where,
are there certain targets you're trying to hit? Like you want something like to be more specific on how you're hitting them, or like you might not want the sword.
Well, yeah. So you recognize that this guy.
Or you're not going to get in close to him, or
this guy uses a really strong shield, so I really have to break down his attitude compliance, ACS, whatever it is.
To stagger him,
you
right?
really
or
have
whatever.
to break down his ACS in order to stagger him, and there's some guns that do that better than others.
Okay.
Or like, oh, he uses like an ion shield, so I need something that kind of counteracts that ion.
There's definitely.
Or sometimes they're just wicked big, and if you have a light, quick little mech, you might not have just the sheer firepower to be able to put enough damage on them. So, like, I'll go from being like a little quick jumper guy with a couple little short range machine guns and some shoulder mounted rocket launchers, and all of a sudden I'll be like, oh man, I've got to go take on this behemoth, and I'll switch over to like a tank with mini guns and like grenade launchers or something all of a sudden, and like being able to pivot mid mission like that is really cool.
Do you find yourself doing that often too, respecing mid mission?
Maybe not fully anymore. Like I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm a little bit more comfortable with the mech that I walked in with. So like I think I'm becoming a better player.
Because I've been in the training area a lot just with my mech that I feel comfortable with trying to get used to the movement. And
well, I mean, you talked about the airship at the beginning, man. The airship at the beginning was a hard mission.
I haven't gone back to replay it yet, but I would like to just to go see where I'm at. But I'm still scared of that. But I think I would do a lot better.
You are, yeah. I mean, you're inevitably going to be better as a pilot, but
and I got more health.
What messed with me is that it doesn't let you bring your new mech in to replay that mission.
What does it do?
You have to play with the mech that it gave you.
From that mission.
Correct.
Or whatever? Oh, okay.
So it actually lets you replay
so I'll just have my skills outside the game is what I have.
Yeah, so you will be better as a pilot, and you'll be better as your understanding of the game, but your mech won't be any different.
Because there is something to these games that, there's real hardcore, there's a whole gamut of people, and some people do like to play these games, or like Zelda, where you're not getting all the upgrades. They like to main line right through without, they love the hardness.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not me, so I've been trying to prepare for that. So
we mentioned it. It's like I appreciate the difficulty of it because it's kind of fun and it's rewarding when you do finally beat something like that. That's like let's say it took you 20, 30 minutes to like figure yourself out and kind of figure out how the boss moves and how he attacks and everything. Like when you beat him, you're just like, fuck yeah, I got him. But like that's part of the game, and I think that's something that Armored Core has really always brought to at least me, even from when back in the day when we were playing 3 and 4. It's definitely always felt like that kind of game to me, in that you will be challenged, but when you get through that challenge, man, it just feels really good.
Yeah, that was like the airship battle, and that is like those other games too. So the other things I want to talk to you about, I guess, is I've been speccing out my mech.
Mm-hmm.
So far, I haven't changed any of my weapon setup besides. At the beginning of the game, I don't think you have a left bumper item. Correct. So you can either buy something to shoot missiles, or I think you can buy a shield for that slot. And I chose something that shoots missiles. So I got the 2 shoulders that shoot missiles. I'm still rocking the sword, and I'm still rocking that intro gun.
Mm-hmm.
I've specced out. I've got new stuff for all my other stuff. So all the other components for my mech. I got a new head, I got new arms, I got new legs. I got something new in every one of those categories.
Yeah.
And then my 2 processor things. So I've done good work on all that stuff. I can't necessarily find, and I've been improving, so I haven't really felt the need to change too much yet. But what other weapons have you found that are useful? Have you changed this? I got a few questions. I'm just going to fire them. Have you changed the sword? Is there another version of the sword out there that you can get that's more powerful? I didn't really notice that. And the only other weapon I've considered using so far is the bazooka, but I just feel like it's going to be too slow, and so I haven't changed it. I've been hesitant to change the weapon. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing?
So they will. I don't think any of this is spoiler stuff because it's all just kind of nuts and bolts about the game. But so like as you advance, basically every time you beat a boss, but definitely every time that you beat a chapter, it unlocks more parts for you in your part shop.
After every chapter?
So I think so.
Okay.
I'm pretty positive it's after every chapter.
But
I think there might be like some little subdivides.
I haven't seen anything get added yet, so now I'm still in chapter 1.
You said you're like mission 6 or so?
Something like that.
Okay. So you're still a few ones away from the end of the chapter, but when you get through that chapter, it will unlock a whole bunch of other parts that you can go through and buy. And that's the first one that I saw a stronger sword.
Ah, okay. Okay, good to know.
Because we talked about that one too, because I love the sword. I think the sword's really, really cool.
Yeah, me too.
But like, there's just trade-offs. Everything about this game is cost and benefit, right? So like, the sword that you have now, the sword you start out with, lets you do 2 slashes pretty quickly, like one after the other. The next
kind of like
sword,
almost moves you closer, kind of like a Halo sword almost.
Gives you a bump,
which I love that when you hit it. It's nice.
The second sword is way stronger, but you only get one slap.
Okay.
So like,
So I may still like the first sword better because
I use it.
I'm a creature of habit a
unless
little
I'm
bit too. So
unless I'm really in need of it, because I have a bad habit of misjudging the distance between me and the target.
yeah, me too.
Or as I go to hit the sword, he'll jump back or something, and I'll get
and
screwed
that's a
up.
bad feeling because then you're just
You're just left out in the open.
yeah, you're just chilling, and that guy's still moving around, like re-strategizing on you. It's like tough. That just thinking quickly, that battle, I really like the missions. I like that some of them are short, and then I really like that mission where you just fight that mech. There's a mech on the ground,
Yeah.
and you just have to show up
Yeah.
and fight him on in that
you fight the
cityscape.
test pilot or whatever it is. Yeah. And that's a really cool mission, because
Really cool.
if you as you go on, especially like if you want to practice with your mech, let's say you go for like just a completely different build, which again I think a lot of that opens. I'm really excited for you to get to chapter 2, because I think a lot more of those opportunities open up, because I don't think it was until chapter 2 that like you could unlock tank legs, right? Like that.
I've seen some tank parts so far, but I don't know if it was legs, but maybe.
So
But I didn't know you were gonna. I didn't know that's how the new parts are gonna get unlocked. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's cool.
yeah, it's just progress driven.
Because I've been,
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say that just makes me think that maybe I should have saved my money on buying some of this early stuff, but it probably won't matter. I can always sell it too, but like
There's always more money to make.
I should have been. You can just replay those missions, which is nice, and it still gives you pretty good cash.
So when you go and you're like, let's say you just completely rebuild your mech, you start from scratch, you just do it all over again. When you do that, you can play that mission. And a lot of people online have been very supportive of doing it this way. But like, you can replay that mission where you're just going and fighting that mech.
Yeah.
Because you make actually really good money for running a pretty short mission, and it gives you actual like combat head to head. So like you are forced to, learn how to move in your new mech and learn how it interacts with the environment and everything.
That's like fighting someone similar to you too, in that one.
Exactly.
Like a giant machine.
It's a little bit more than like, there's a couple of those missions that are just go in and like hammer through all these, little sheep that are here, or MTs and whatever they call them. And then, you beat all the MTs and then you're done. And like the MT fights really aren't that challenging, but like whenever you have a mech of like similar strength, or whenever you have a boss or something like that, it's what catapults that game to being more difficult. So yeah, that's a cool one to redo. Attack the Dam, where I think you went in with like 2 other allies.
Oh, I don't know. Remember that one?
That might be the one that you're on then.
I replayed the one where you fight the guy a lot. I've replayed the one where you have to go attack these like 3. There's like 3 different airship or like anti-air guns on this map, and you have to go kill all 3 of them. I replayed that one a lot, trying to get the high ranks. But I really just been running those early missions. So I've been playing it a lot. It's been the main game I've been playing. But
you might
that's
knock
what
out
I've been doing.
Might knock out that next one if it is the next one. I'm pretty sure it's like mission 6, so it's probably the next one.
And I think I'm pretty set on my mech right now too. Like I'm saying, I should maybe wait to upgrade my weapons later on, since I'm doing okay. I've already upgraded all my basic stuff, so I might be in a good position to push forward a little bit. Like,
well, and this is so there isn't an overwhelming amount of options, but like you will, like, if you just go into the buy menu and look at all the right hand stuff and left hand stuff and then your shoulder stuff, and just be like, is this anything that like I think could be any cooler, or that would be, or if you haven't done the training. I think the training is actually where I got my favorite laser pistol.
You unlock something from training?
Yeah, so when you run the training courses,
I've done the first one only, but
it gives you a reward just for having done the training.
Okay, cool.
I'm not 100% positive on that, but I don't think I bought that gun. So I think I ran one of the training courses, and it gave me the laser pistol that I love.
I've thought about buying the pistol because that seems cool. There's a pistol or a Magnum or something that seems pretty neat to use. Let's just talk about our mechs for a second, since we're talking about this. So my mech, you know what I'm using, so I want to hear what you're using. But my mech for color, I've designed my mech to look like a Carolina Panther.
I love so much how much you can do with all these colors, man. And it is amazing.
So my guy's primarily black. He's got some blue and silver in there. I tried to make him look like a Panther. He's sleek out there. He's kind of quick, doing this thing. So what color scheme are you rocking, and what weapons are you rocking? I know you interchange them, but like if you have to pick your favorite or your to-go, what's your standard setup?
And so I have a tetrapod mech. So I got a 4-leg mech.
Okay, I'm about to say 3, like Tetra, but damn, that's dumb. I get you. I
I
give
got-
those Spidey legs kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got a 4-leg mech. He kind of runs like an in between a standard mech and a tank. So he's still pretty beefy, but he's not quite as like stationary as a tank is. But I run a tetrapod mech. I think I have like 12,000 ish AP.
Dang, I'm
I have
around
that,
10, I think.
That laser pistol that I was talking about, which is
On the right side?
dope. That's my right hand gun. My left hand, I have either the sword or baby, that's my shoulder. I have either the sword or I have a like a homing missile launcher as like a second gun, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
I have found that so much of this game requires homing for me.
While you're flying around, and then
maybe I'm just
I'm
not
with
good
you.
at keeping the target in track, but I really like that kind of security blanket of
You can
sometimes you just pull the trigger and hope that the missiles go get them because like I find myself darting all over.
And you're just watching those little, the bottom right of your screen has the refreshes on all your weapons. So, you'll get the timing on that, but you're watching those things and you got to be spamming those things.
Sometimes you just pull the trigger as soon as you
Like,
can.
right. Like that's, half the battle in this game of, there's a lot going on, but you really are kind of focusing on that
Yeah.
in this most micro way around or whatever.
A lot of and just to finish that thought, so I have like the homing pistol or the sword on my left hand, the laser pistol on my right hand, and then the one item that I absolutely adore in this game, just because it is a nuke, is the Songbirds. They're shoulder-mounted grenade launchers.
Okay.
They shoot 2 grenades, non-tracking, but like man, they hit with such a big radius that like they almost always at least do some damage. And
Is it right or left side it's on?
I have them on both.
Oh, you can do them on
Yeah,
both?
I bought both of them.
That's
man.
cool.
I'm coming with all of the heat for that.
I was wondering if they can interchange them.
And like sometimes, a lot of what my playstyles kind of become, especially when I have like a one-on-one, is I try really hard to like get my opponent against a wall, and then just hit him with the grenade launchers, so that even if I don't hit him straight on with impact, like he's got nowhere to go, and like that explosion just rocks him.
Is the Songbird? Does it shoot up or does it ever shoot straight out? Like how's that one
Shoots
go?
straight.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
It just comes over your shoulder and just bam bam and just shoots like straight at him.
And it has like a homing mechanism to it too. Like you get or
Maybe
it's
a
just so
little bit.
direct.
They're
Okay.
basically direct though. They're not they're not an elegant weapon, man. They are not a clever weapon at all, man. No, they just wreck. So that's been a huge thing of mine. And I know this has nothing to do with build. It's just the vanity of this game because the color schemes are so cool.
Yeah, what color is your guy looking like too? You gotta tell us
that
that.
green one.
Okay, yeah.
That
I
was
said he
what
looked like
was rocking for a
Scyther from
long time.
Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah. I had that green one. I actually really liked it, but I redid. So now I am using the 3 primary colors for the St. Louis Cardinals.
All right. We can maybe
jerseys.
talk
So
about them later on the show too. In the
Okay.
miscellaneous talk.
I've got primary white. I've got secondary
That's cool.
red, and then I have my third color. My little supporting color is their like baby blue.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I think it looks pretty fresh.
And
Like, I really like it.
I think my colors are pretty like reminiscent of the Panthers colors. Like, did
Yeah.
you find the red looks kind of Cardinals-y?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. When you get like the full scope of it, you can get pretty close to all your colors, which is.
Did you put any? They have like icons and medallions you could put on your armor. There weren't a lot of choices, but I don't know if there was a bird. Maybe like you
So
could have rocked a cardinal or something.
There's a lot of you can make your own.
Yeah, and I was wondering how that seems awesome. And there's got to be people online doing that. The checkout. I don't know. If,
Yeah, like if you go to Reddit or if you just even image search them, some of the ones these guys have done. I mean, they've spent a long
Sounds like-
time, doing all the layers for it and everything to get it to look nice. But like, man, they look so cool, and yeah, you can make it like a custom thing like that. So like, I'm confident that like I could probably make a pretty good rendition of the Cardinals logo as a decal, and it would be pretty cool.
have you been rocking the cards guy for a while? Because you were on the site there. Now you've been cards since then. Those have been your 2
I think I've been
changes.
cards since the end of chapter 2. So
Okay.
all of chapter 3 at least, I went Cardinal color.
Have you looked up anything about how many chapters are in this game or anything like that?
I think it's 5.
Okay, and
It might be 6, but I think it's 5.
I could be misremembering, but I think I read at some point it's like 23 hours is what they recommend to beat this game. I could be really, I'm reading a lot of video game stuff lately. I could be mismashing that.
If 23 hours is what they recommend to beat it,
Well, yeah,
that's 23 hours of someone who's a lot more capable.
That's a good point.
Because I am probably
And
close to 20 hours.
I kind of think I'm misremembering that then.
I'm probably close to 20 hours in it now, and like I definitely have had my fair share of failures to have to keep going back and trying. So maybe I'm not quite 20 hours, but like I feel like I've played a pretty good bit, and I'm not close to beating it.
So let's talk about with that. So you've kind of got, those are kind of all my thoughts with this. Where I'm at in the game. I'm always jumping from games, so I have I have Starfield coming out next week. That's something that's been tempting, and we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. Do you see? I have a few questions here I want to get to you too, possibly that maybe we haven't covered about Armored Core. But do you see yourself keep playing this? Is this your main game in your mind right now? That if you have some time to play, you're trying to play. What do you think about that?
So
do you think you're gonna have the strength to get through it all? Like, how you feeling?
So Starfield releases on the 5th, and honestly, it wasn't until you talked to me about that game when I first went out with my shoulder. It wasn't until you first talked to me about that game that I
you're
really
thinking
started
about
looking
it
into
too.
it.
Yeah.
I've already.
Okay.
No, I'm in it.
And people are playing it right now. Yeah, and it's seeming good. We're gonna talk about that in the midsection.
Bethesda's known for making games that are just like fall so well into my desires for a video game, and they just make some good quality games that like are kind of the things I want to spend.
It sounds like it's scratching that itch too. So we'll have some cool stuff to talk about there.
Yeah, no, I'll have a lot to say about that. I have a lot of opinions about Bethesda games, and
so even you're getting caught up in the hype and the impending releases, but
yeah, no, I'm excited about that one too. But to answer your question about Armored Core, I want to finish it. The game is really cool, and I think it is really compelling for me, even if it's not storyline compelling.
It's just fun to play.
There's some games that you want to beat because you want to know what happens next. I don't really care. Not that I say I don't really care, but like I'm not playing Armored Core because I'm really interested in what's happening to Raven, right? Or like, or oh man, I want to know more about Handler Walter. Like the characters are.
I think that stuff they're doing is cool. I think the atmosphere of it's kind of cool. I think the little bit of that stuff is just good enough. Like I think it's doing a good job. I think
that's a lot of what I've always liked about it is like to have a really
cool. That's a good
mercenary game where like as a mercenary you almost feel like your story doesn't matter because the whole reason you're doing your job is because someone paid you to do it.
True.
Like it's how I would really want. Like, if they ever made, like, a Boba Fett game,
it's just so cool.
That's
all I keep thinking. It's just so cool.
Like, if they ever had a game where, like, you were truly just a bounty hunter or something, and, like, not like the, because they make bounty hunter games where, like, oh, yeah, you ride into town, and then some little kid's getting
a little bit like The Witcher, almost. So he's a little bit like kind of what you're talking about, where it's
character-wise,
he gets involved with people though, and that he has love stuff. This is a little more cut and dry, like a cool combat thing.
And since you're robots, like you almost, everyone has a pilot, but like you almost forget that people have pilots because it's just like robot versus robot.
He's a silent protagonist. It's kind of like the Link has a little more. That's a bad example, but he's silent protagonist. It really does just lend well just to go doing the combat, and that's the real focus.
And especially with those first, I think if I've read right, there's a number of different endings for this game based on the decisions you made, and like who you kind of ally yourself to a little bit later on.
Well, that's cool. That'll be like Starfield or
like
Fallout.
the first 3 chapters, I think are just just go and do
learning the game.
Do this, do this, and like
in the back half, it sounds
like
changes it.
That because I don't have to worry about making the wrong choice. For the first 3 chapters, like I think I found the first mission in chapter 3. I found the first mission where me choosing to do and completing this mission took away my opportunity to do another mission. So like I allied with one faction in choosing this mission, and in choosing this mission, it won't let me do this mission for another faction. And like that was the first like really eliminatory decision that I have to make, which was cool because like that means you get halfway through the game without having to worry about like, oh man, I killed that doctor in that city back there, and like, oh, is that gonna come back and haunt me 40 hours down the line? Like
that's crazy. There's some choices, like moral choices in this game, or like things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just,
I would never expect that.
Because it all. If I understand, and I've tried really hard to avoid the spoilers for it, which is funny,
that's cool.
Because I just said that I
that's
don't care about the storyline, but I've tried really hard to avoid the spoilers. But yeah, whatever choices you make, kind of bring you to some decision on probably this is pretext, but probably who gets the coral or
I
how
got you.
much they get.
Because we did talk about that. That's the main battle of this is the coral.
Right.
Okay.
It's just who comes in to own this resource. And your decisions will play a big part in that because obviously you are still the protagonist. So like you're a cog in this, this army for sure, but like you are the main cog. But that being said, like Starfield's going to be a big problem for me there because.
Okay. But you don't see yourself. You see yourself wanting to keep playing it and then finding some more time in the future to keep playing. You're not really
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
good as it can be, really.
I mean, I'm already happy with that purchase. I don't regret it at all. I've more than made my money back and my enjoyment so far, and it
lends itself well to replaying the missions or playing in small chunks. Or I've listened to a podcast. You could listen to this great show while you're replaying missions, or you can listen to music. Even it's not too imperative that you're listening to the sound too much. I like that about games too. I like that as an option.
I think that so much of once you kind of get familiar with movement is such a big thing in Armored Core. Being able to fly around and to avoid attacks and everything. That's probably the most important thing there. But once you get really familiar with movement and how to move, then it just becomes a question of like recognizing patterns in your boss's attacks, right? With every game works like that. When you come across a boss.
Yeah, true. Pattern recognition. Yeah.
He does this, and then you have to do this, and he does this, and you have to.
It's just so precise in these games.
It's just you just have to be sharp about it. So I don't think that there will be like having kind of kicked all that rust off. I don't think there will be a point where I try to come back to 6 to Fires of Rubicon. And I'm like, I haven't played in a week, so I've forgotten everything. I think it's going to be like something that very much I can do. Like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to put an hour on it, and I'll probably beat a couple of missions, and I'm going to feel really good about that.
Being able to
still get that. Who's done?
The animals are going wild.
You still get that sense of accomplishment from.
And you get money too from replaying.
And you get money.
All right, so Sanfee here. Let's we're gonna get to a little bit of a bow on this first section here. So let's see these questions. So I think the only things we haven't touched on is I wanted to ask you, have you been buying? Let's see. I don't know. I guess that's what I don't think. Okay, yeah. I guess this last thing I've asked you we've talked about all this, but buying and selling things. Have you had any regrets on selling stuff? And is that something to worry about? Because I've been worried about that myself.
So I no longer trust myself to make the appropriate call for selling things, so I have sold nothing.
Okay, so maybe I should do that too, because I don't want to live with these regrets, these terrible regrets.
Especially like that first time that I respec my mech mid-mission, and I respec it with something that if I had just gone through it thinking about it the way that I did originally, where I was like, I just need firepower, and like I didn't think about it as like, oh, this has like a counter, or like I need to be able to track this guy better, then I would have absolutely sold some of these things. And then I got that opportunity to respec mid-mission to go about this boss in a different way, and I beat the boss relatively easily because I had those things to respec. So as soon as I recognized that the first time, I decided I'll never do it.
So it sounds
like I probably do a lot of replaying missions, probably more than the average bear would be happy doing. But I do it so that I definitely keep everything that I have.
So maybe some advice, if real early on in the game, maybe if you sell something that's not going to be so so troublesome, but like Sanfee's been finding later on, you want to keep your stuff so you can spec how you want, and you might want to have access to something that you didn't expect, kind of thing.
You'll have so like right now for instance, and I know this, I still can't bring myself to sell it, but I would be totally fine in doing so, because I have like 2 sets of arms that are very, very
identical.
Similar.
Okay.
Basically identical. One is at least in every way that I care. One is like slightly better than the other, so I could sell the other one, and I would have zero regrets about it, because I always have the primary one to turn back to.
True.
But like, you very much want to have like a light set, a mid set, and a heavy set. You want to have a good pair of regular legs, a good pair of bow-legged legs, a good pair of tetrapod legs, a good pair of tank legs. You want to have a heavy head and a light head. You kind of want to have those options for as you're building, because you never know when you're gonna all of a sudden need to do something like completely polar opposite, and to be able to take advantage of that, you need to have it on you, because it doesn't let you do any purchasing at those respec checkpoints. You have to have it. But that's,
I think the cool part about this game too is you could play this game kind of like we're doing. We might fall off soon for another release, but I think if you had just one game and you could put a lot of time into this, and this could be your main game. And I think it's cool too. You could jump back into this game. It is complicated, but you could figure it back out through the training and other stuff.
Yeah.
It seems like it's doing really a lot of good things, I would say, in general.
No, it's very well made. It's very intuitive, and I think it's just different. Like I said, that's the biggest thing I keep getting from this is like, I'm telling you how excited I am from Starfield, but like I've played a game like Starfield way more recently than I've played a game like Armored Core, right?
Yeah.
It's just that we trust Bethesda to make it. Well, we hope we trust Bethesda to make a good game.
5 years in development.
But I haven't played a lot of third-person, fast-paced shooter games ever, because most of the shooters everyone plays are FPS. So like we don't play a lot of third-person.
Or Gears of War, and that's a whole different. You're on the ground. This game, the aerial thing's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and the movement and the mobility of it is something that like definitely doesn't come from, because like when you're playing Gears of War, Gears of War is a very popular third-person shooter, sure. But it was almost cover based. No, it wasn't almost cover based. It was almost exclusively cover based. Like you had to be able to go in and out of cover and move.
And that's just a fraction of this
which
game.
Which is something that is not a thing in.
Like you're sometimes dodging around the building, but that's really about it.
I'm just hitting my boosters, going left, right, up, down. Trying to avoid this massive wave of missiles. To the point that the ability to move almost makes you feel cool.
It does. It's all cool.
Just to be able to like, oh man, there's this missile salvo, just 100 missiles that's coming at me, and like all of a sudden your robot just like shifting around, and he blows left, he blows right, he's juking, he's dodging, and then all of a sudden you hit your assault stick and he goes into overdrive and he's just like charging at the guy, and then you come in with your sword, and like that little like sequence makes me feel badass.
So is that
truly badass?
So is that your summary on Armored Core? It's cool, badass, makes you feel awesome, fun to play.
I loved it. I don't know too many people that I wouldn't recommend that game to, which is cool, because I have a different. I mean, you and I both. I think we kind of go about video games a little differently than maybe even some of our friends, but then people in general sometimes. And I think everybody would at least get some enjoyment out of this game, just because. Yes, it's difficult, but man, being successful in this game makes you feel bad.
Yeah, it does.
It makes you feel cool. So yeah, no, 100%. Great game. Really beautiful game. Really well designed game. Playstyle is really awesome. It's innovative. It's kind of new, and it's dusting off a series and a title series that I'm really glad they revisited, because I remember having a lot of nostalgic fun from that game, and I'm glad I get to have some now too.
Armored Core. It's Armored Core 6.5's Rubicon's been very fun. I'm realizing we've been doing a pretty good little deep dive on this. I think you and I could do a podcast for a long, long time about this, but we got a show to do right here. We're on a time crunch. We got to get to dinner. We got to keep it moving. I got a few other things I want to say here. So hopefully that was some great Armored Core information for you. And you might hear me talk about some more on this show, or you might hear Sanfee come back later on, so you never know. But there's a few other things to wrap up this first section. So this is I just wanted to throw out some other mech games out there that are in the world that you can remember. So one of them was Into the Breach from 2018. Remember our friend Pat playing that?
Yep.
So if you want a turn-based strategy video game and play some mechs, you can go check that out. It's probably pretty inexpensive. Titanfall and Titanfall 2 are other mech games. Titanfall 2 from 2016, developed by Respawn. That's a lot of people say that's a great, first-person shooter campaign. So if you want some more mech action there. And then there's another mech game I wanted to bring up from 2002. Can you think of what that is?
Is it Steel Battalion?
Yeah, Steel Battalion. A game created by Capcom for the Xbox console, where the player controls a vertical tank, a bipedal. Is it bipedal or bipedal?
I always say bipedal.
I like that, but I've heard people say bipedal. I want to be a bipedal guy though. A heavily armored mecha, and I've heard different things between people calling these mecha or mechs. I've always thought it's just a mech, but I hear people say mecha battles.
I always thought they'd say mecha as like
Okay.
weird Japanese anime.
No, that's kind of what
I always say mech though.
But Steel Battalion, you were controlling the tank and playing the game that requires the use of a large controller made specifically for Steel Battalion. So
I loved that.
I was trying to just rack my brain of other mech games, but because they're a really cool thing. You know, it's fun being a robot.
Well, and I mean AC especially, it just speaks to, man. I mean, you remember how much we just love like watching Gundam.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what AC
Go watch
reminds me
Gundam
of every freaking time.
It's scratching that itch.
Is every time I get in my armored core, I'm just like, man, this belongs in Gundam Wing. Like, it's pretty sick.
So the last thing, you know, this is what I've been playing. So the last thing I just want to highlight here is I've been playing Vampire Survivors. This is something I've been telling people to buy since last year.
I downloaded it this morning.
You did?
Your recommendation.
Yes, that's the number 2 game of the year on the Dep Lewis Show of 2022 Ooh. Game of the Year list. And it came out for the Switch this year, and I'm considering putting it on the 2023 list just because I can do whatever I want.
Just got it on the Switch.
So that's really cool to hear. I want to hear your thoughts on that at some point. I just want to shout out, I'm still playing this. You still want to work towards your weapon evolutions is my advice out there, so think about that, Sanfee. It's perfect on the Switch. Mr. Antonio Belpezzi has been my main, so I've been rocking him. I would say pick your first guy and try to get that as your evolution first. And I've just been trying to rank up in this game. I used to say on the Xbox version I was so good at this, I could do an auto 30-minute run at no clip, but that's not the case. I've been building back up. I've been getting clipped at 18 minutes, so you'll learn more about that as you play Sanfee. But I've been playing Vampire Survivors, so I just wanted to shout that out on this show again to let you guys know what I'm playing. And then the last thing I want to ask you for this section, Sanfee, so we got to keep it moving. Are there any other things you played this year on a high level that really memorable that you just want to recommend to people out there that's cool? I know you played a few other things. Is there any highlights from the year for you? I
mean, everyone's already talked about Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
Tears of the Kingdom is such a sick game. Everyone knows that by now. If you're not playing Tears of the Kingdom, it's a personal choice. It's not because you don't think it's going to be a good game. It's because you just don't want to play it.
True, go play that.
Tears of the Kingdom was dope. I went and revisited some older games that I played before. I played the old Jedi Outcast in anticipation of eventually picking up Survivor, which I still haven't done yet, which is a shock to me.
That game's been on sale some, so maybe, and that's going to be a good one to check for on like Black Friday sales. It should be maybe $30 or $40.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for, because I like Outcast. I thought it was good.
You played Hogwarts earlier in the year, right? That's one of
your
other games.
Legacy. That one was awesome. Again, kind of a different feel for a game. That was kind of neat to just play something a little different. I beat that one and put a lot of time into that. Had a lot of fun with that. I play Wild Rift.
Oh yeah,
I play Wild Rift with Tab and Mark. Since I went out with my shoulder, I've definitely been playing a lot more phone games, mobile games, just kind of make it a little easier on myself. I play a lot of Wild Rift, and I actually love that game.
Yeah, we need to. Hopefully you'll want to come back and do this show again because we have a lot more video game stuff we can talk about and get into other series you play.
You can talk about video games forever.
All right, so we're going to keep that up. And this year you played Zelda, you played Hogwarts, you played Armored Core. You just got the new Vampire Survivors, and those have been the main game. And you play MLB The Show. That's another game you play.
I just threw down a game of the show.
Cards fan.
An unfortunate Cards fan.
All right, so we can talk about the cards at the end. So we're going to wrap up this first section of the show. We're going to come back for the mid-section. So just so you guys know, that first section is going to be a little bit longer. These last two sections we're going to fire out because Sanfee and I have to go eat some Indian food is the plan. So that's our plan. So you're going to listen to this quick music, and we'll be back in just a few, so don't go nowhere. Welcome back to the best show you'll ever know, the Dep Lewis Show. This is episode 47. This is the mid-section, so we're going to smoke on some mid. We got Sanfee here still, so the best guest you'll ever know is here again. And he's just going to listen to what I'm saying here in this midsection and kind of give me his opinion on some of this new stuff. So that's the plan. It's going to be a little loosey-goosey here instead of our dedicated Armored Core 6 talk. So this midsection, I just kind of go through the week, Sanfee, and if there's any video game news I think is interesting, I type it on here and I bring it to the show each week. So that's the plan here. So news I missed from the prior week was I want to shout out Mr. Charles Martinet. He was the voice of Mario. And he is no longer the voice of Mario. Can you believe that?
Oh, damn.
So Martinet is 67, so I guess that's a good retirement age. And he's been the voice of Mario since 1991. He's been the voice of Mario almost since we've been born. He's been Mario almost the whole time. He's been the voice of Mario, Luigi, and Wario in Nintendo Super Mario Bros. Games for 3 decades. So he's going to segue into the role of Mario Ambassador. So I think that's, nice honorable
Yeah,
thing as he
it's
leaves.
like getting a front office job in baseball after you retire.
Yeah.
Like you deserve some sort of recognition.
He will continue to travel the world sharing the joy of Mario. So just want to shout out Mr. Charles Martinet. They confirmed that he will not appear in the next upcoming game for Mario, which is Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Yeah.
That comes out October 20th, 2023. So we're going to have a new voice for Mario. I was wondering myself if it's going to be Chris Pratt, but since he was the voice in the Mario movie.
Yeah.
But my thoughts on him are he's probably too scheduled up and he's probably too expensive to be the normal voice. Like,
That's true too.
I don't know if I would have known Charles Martinet before and I read this story about him. Like, I don't know if I've heard that name before or not, but
It was such an iconic voice just because it's been
Yeah.
so long. God, so long.
So hopefully Mr. Martinet is very rich and, living his life and doing well. And, that's the hope. So that's some Mario news. We got some more Mario news. There was a Super Mario Brothers Wonder Direct that happened this week. I thought it was going to be a regular Direct, but it actually was just Super Mario Brothers Wonder specific. So this took place on August 31st. It's around 15 minutes long, and it had around 3 million views, so a lot of people have watched this. I started watching this, and a few minutes in, I'm already sold on buying this game, so this is something I don't want to see any more content for. But if you want to see some gameplay, if you're on the fence about playing this new side-scrolling Mario, I would say go watch that Nintendo Direct because they're always pretty fun. But do you find yourself doing that sometimes too? You just you're sold on the game and don't want to watch any more on it?
Yeah, I don't want to hear anything else about it in case it colors my opinion of something. Like if I want to buy something, I want to go in with my opinions on it and then let them write out.
And Super Mario Bros. Wonder is, I'm 99% confident I'm going to like it. I don't know how it could go wrong in a side-scroll Mario. It has a new cool style to it. It's like you can be an elephant Mario in it. There's a lot of cool different evolutions going on. So, I don't know how much more info we'll get before October.
Once you
but
have side scroll and Mario,
Yeah.
you know what you're getting. You know you don't have to know like the individual things of it, but like they're not gonna find a way to damage side scrolling Mario in such a way that I'm not gonna want to play it. Like I still want to do it. Just again, the nostalgia. I feel like this episode could just be titled nostalgia because everything we've talked about is just like.
That's true. They're good at that. They're very good at that.
They're good at that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like and they're fun for different reasons. So like any of the interactions that they make, if you're gonna make an elephant Mario, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, whatever that interaction is gonna be in your world, like it's gonna be good. I will at least maintain optimism that like there's just no way that they would take that away from me and make that something that I don't enjoy because I've enjoyed it for so long.
So that new Super Mario Bros. Wonder releases on October 20th, 2023. And we're going to actually talk about in just a little bit, we're going to talk about all the releases for the rest of the year that I think are interesting. So that's definitely on that list of things. But so we're just going to keep it moving. So the next thing I want to talk about is was the number one game of the Dep Lewis Show for 2022. And that is Splatoon 3. I know all my friends have heard a lot about that. I just want to announce there's been some new news. Splatoon 3 has seasons just like every other game. So Drizzle's Season 3 has arrived in Splatoon 3 via a free update. It brings new gear, weapons, and fresh activities for residents of Splatsville to enjoy. So, new weapons and stages, grab new gear, emotes, and more in the fresh catalog. It also features gear from the Drizzle Season 2022, so it's kind of like Overwatch back in the day. If you missed the, items.
They'll get like a relaunch for it.
Yeah, it comes back through this year. So you can discover a new twist on select headgear and clothing with the adjust gear option. And this has been last thing I want to say. So, the new season started. That's something, Splatoon 3 online players like to do. And there's also a new Splatfest approaching. So Splatfest is, a weekend-long event in Splatoon where you pick one of three sides as a Splatoon 3 player. So this time you can pick between the best leader, which are Splatoon 3 characters, Shiver, Fry, or Big Man. And you pick the sides, and all your points that your wins or losses that week go towards that team.
Cool.
At the end of the Splatfest, you can be a winner. So
that's kind of neat.
There's been 7 Splatfests. I'm 4-2 in them, and I missed the last Splatfest where you had to pick your favorite ice cream because I just wasn't playing it. So this next Splatfest is coming up on September 9th through 11th. So I believe that's next weekend. If you want to play the Splatfest, I usually pick who I'm going to support live on the show, but I don't know if I'm going to play the Splatfest, so I'm not picking it quite yet. But you never know. I like to jump around, but there's so many games to play, and I'm trying to get those all settled for the end of the year. So that's kind of the direction we're going in here. But go check out some Splatoon 3 if you'd like to play the new season or the new upcoming Splatfest. So got to keep rolling. Next game that's been released is something that came out this week. It's called Sea of Stars. It's been seeming like real positive reviews. So I wanted just to mention this. It's a 2023 role-playing video game by Sabotage Studio. It's called a retro-inspired turn-based RPG. So back to the nostalgia thing, this is going to be scratching some of those things. I've said that a few times, scratching those itches. I got to quit saying that. This game came out August 29th for Switch, PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Microsoft Windows, and also Game Pass. So I downloaded this demo on my Switch to try it out. I've also downloaded it on Game Pass, but I think this is seems like a great Switch game. It's $34.99. Like I said, there's a demo available, so you can try that out. Sea of Stars tells the story of two children of the solstice who combine the powers of the sun and moon to perform eclipse magic, the only force capable of fighting off the monstrous creations of an evil alchemist known as the Fleshmancer. So, a lot of, yeah, it seems so cool. It has a cool visual style, old school RPG. I'm sure it has great music. I think one of the composers has done some music for Chrono Trigger back in the day, that game. So, a lot of good pedigree here with role-playing stuff. So, go check it out. I've only kind of heard positive stuff about that. I can't play everything or, can't see everything, but something I want to check out. It definitely looks cool. So a lot about this show is just me, kind of crowdsourcing all the video game information in the world and bringing it to these people. So go check out Sea of Stars if you want a new game to play.
Cool. I'm a sucker for turn-based, so that's an easy one.
All right. Yeah, it looks cool. And yeah, you said you purchased Starfield outright. You didn't do the Game Pass?
No, I did do Game Pass.
So you can try it on there if you'd like to.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot to tell you that. I got Game Pass.
Yeah, so there you go. Sea of Stars if you want another game.
That's another thing you've been telling me to for a while that I don't know why I haven't been listening to. But I finally got Game Pass. I got Starfield on Game Pass. So yeah, now Sea of Stars being on that. That's awesome.
And you got
that's how I got the show.
Perfect. Oh yeah, that's on there still. That's how I played the show earlier in the year. So one other quick hitter I want to bring up, some more video game news from Call of Duty. 21 Savage is now in Call of Duty as a playable character. So they've added Snoop Dogg, they've added Nicki Minaj. I think there's some other there's Messi in there, and Messi and
Neymar were there when we were playing, I think.
Yeah.
They had kits for him.
But now they've still been adding, I'm not
That's
playing this game
funny.
anymore, but if I was, I would buy the 21 Savage avatar and play him. And there's a new Call of Duty coming out this year, so I think it's just a cool marketing thing that they're adding these people in there. So I just wanted to mention that. And then the other thing I want to talk about in this first section, we're going to talk about Starfield for a second. We're going to be quick because Sanfee and I are going to play that. We're going to come back and talk about it again at some point. But Starfield is coming out next week on September 6th, so that's Wednesday. If you paid for early access for the premium edition, you could be playing this as of September 1st. So that's been pretty tough on me because I could pay $35 right now and play it, but I've just been trying to save my moolah, and I'll play it next week since I already have Game Pass, so I might as well take the victory there. But a lot of people are playing this. I would say it's generally positive. There's some negative stuff, but overall it's making me want to play it even more. So just so you know out there about Starfield, it's an RPG developed by Bethesda Game Studios and published by Bethesda Softworks. It was announced during Bethesda's E3 presentation in 2018. It takes place in a space-themed setting, and it's the first new IP developed by Bethesda in 29 years. So I think Bethesda is one of my favorite developers.
Yeah,
Elder Scrolls, one of my favorite series ever. So, Fallout and stuff like that. So this is something.
Someone asked me recently, and I said that I think Morrowind is my favorite game that I've ever played.
That might be me too, and I like the Elder Scrolls discussion of which one's your favorite, and I think that's something fun we could do at some point too, because those games are really great. But this Starfield Early Access is available September 1st, same day as the review embargo, so there's plenty of review content out there on YouTube. Reviews getting written. You can watch quick plays of it. So pretty much everyone's been playing this. There's people out there that have review copies, and then there's people that the public are playing this early too. So I'm on the third layer here, but hey, what can you do?
And we all catch up. After,
Yeah.
After the 5th, I'm gonna hit it hard.
So I've been tempted to do this. It's on Game Pass, and the only thing I've heard there, so this is a set your expectations kind of thing. People are a little bit upset that you can't fly to other planets like in some games.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. Is that they expected it to be just like this limitless,
kind of like the Morrowind maps or the Oblivion or Skyrim. You can technically kind of walk anywhere besides maybe some of the water things. But
someone put this in perspective. I forget who I read this on TikTok. Someone put this in perspective. They said that like every planet is basically 2 times the size of the entire New Vegas map.
And
that every planet is that big, but that someone was still and you can land anywhere you want
on the planet and explore it.
But people were upset that like there weren't just limitless planets to go and explore, and like that is such an, to me at least, I mean, I'm not a computer programmer, but that is such an unreasonable expectation to have on a game, on something that has to have like a finite amount of data available. So like for you to be able to believe that there should be just trillions of planets and you can just pick one and go explore it and there'd be all this fun stuff to do, like that almost seems like an impossibility. But what that's led me, that rabbit hole that I had to go down to like really come up with that opinion, just makes me want to play it more, because as wide open as the planets that exist are, and your ability to land anywhere on them and to go and do whatever you would want in something that is still going to be vast and open world, like, is pretty cool. I mean,
and Mass Effect did that. Mass Effect, when you traveled, you'd see a little cutscene. You were going to a new galaxy. It's kind of like that. And, you're getting also the other things of the Bethesda world on top of, like, the Mass Effect structure a little bit. I don't think the story in this is going to hit as hard as Mass Effect, but it seems pretty good like that. And I think it's only a short cutscene. And then I've also heard that the planets that you go to, you don't necessarily have a map or a mini-map on them. So, that's forcing you to explore. This game apparently forces you to remember where shops are and things like that. So it's not holding your hand in that way.
Damn, I didn't know that.
So that's a world-building thing, I feel like, too, that kind of immerses you in there. And I think that, and I've also heard that you fast travel a lot in this game. Yes, it is nice to walk to the different, be able to fly to the planets, but I heard most of the people that are playing this are fast traveling a lot. And then I heard another opinion today that, Bethesda, I don't know if there's anywhere they ever promised that it was going to be limitless where you could fly to any planet.
They would never promise that because it's impossible. It truly is impossible.
And it doesn't sound...
There's games that have been existing for a decade that have been constantly evaluated and reevaluated that try to give you that true open world concept. And the game sounds like it would be, to me, really boring.
Yeah, like that's a No Man's Sky argument. And No Man's Sky... it was touted as being very boring from when it got released, and there's been more content added to it. But No Man's Sky, the whole gist was that you are in a big solar system of procedurally generated planets you can fly around. But once you get there, you're just mining for some resources. There's not a huge overarching story. There's not cool things to do.
I didn't want to drive No Man's Sky, but it was No Man's Sky that we were.
But then
that was in.
But some people are looking at No Man's Sky now, being like, "Oh, it's doing things that Starfield isn't." But they're trying to accomplish different things, I would say. And
the goals of those games are completely different.
So.
And I, like I said, I would never hold the expectations of one to the other, because honestly, even think about space, right? If I just went and I found a planet, there might not be anything on it. There might just be a weird, annoying, boring, lonely planet. But I got here. That's not exciting to me. I want it to still be something kind of functional and driven, on the Starfield side of that argument. But I don't know. I think people are really, really holding Bethesda's feet to the fire on that, and it's just not fair. And I've heard,
so there's been a little bit of that criticism. I think this is ultimately something that you want to try yourself, because it does sound like there's a lot of good here. But, you would rather them take some swings and have some misses overall than, just kind of be something bland or boring. So it sounds like they're doing something cool here.
Yeah.
So that's something. Look forward to that next week, September 6th. That's Wednesday. Mr. Sanfee and I will be busy that day. We're going to talk about that in the next section, but we'll have, we have our whole lives to play these games. So we're going to go down this last bit of this midsection here. I just want to give an updated rest of 2023 calendar of games I think that are interesting. So we're just going to be quick. I'm just going to kind of read through these. These are games I picked out. They're in chronological order of when they get released. And then just, if you think any of them sound cool at the end, Sanfee, just let me know. We'll just kind of quick hit through these, but I like to let the listeners know, what's coming up, how to plan the rest of your year, how to plan your money and your time for these games. So I'll just give you some quick information on these. So September 6th as well, this would have been something I wanted to play if Starfield wasn't coming out that same day, is Baldur's Gate 3. It's a Dungeons and Dragons inspired or created game. It's been reviewing very well. A lot of people have been playing it on PC and saying it's up there with Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for best game of the year. So it's something I want to try at some point, but just bad timing. But September 6th, you can try that out on PS5, and they've said that's going to come to Xbox too before the end of the year is what they've said. So that's coming to all consoles. That's been reviewing extremely well and been a great surprise. Starfield is the same day, 9/6, coming to Xbox Series X, S, and PC. So that's a pretty big Xbox exclusive out there. It's on Game Pass as well. So come back next week. I'll be talking about that some, and probably for the upcoming weeks, I'll be talking about that on a week-by-week basis. Another game, Assassin's Creed Mirage, comes out October 5th, 2023 for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, and PC. So that one's It looks like only Xbox One is the one missing out on that. So if you have a PS4, you can still play this, which is interesting to me. But it could be a typo. But maybe check that.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Check that out before you buy that. But that's something you want to play, right? Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I've loved those games for a long time too.
That's the one that's supposed to be 20 to 23 hours to complete.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But they're saying people are skeptical of that. They're saying, hey, there could be some more filler in there to flesh that world out. But they're saying this is a shorter. The game's not even fully priced. I think it's $35 or $40. So they're touting it as a smaller, more focused Assassin's Creed. So all that sounds good to me.
Yeah, that one especially has a lot of optimism about it. I've loved that series for so long. I think that was another really cool one. Again, I think stealth-based games really trick it for me. Even if I'm not good at them, I think the idea of having a stealth-based game is neat. I love Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell is why I bought my first Xbox, was just because I wanted a stealth-based game. And Assassin's Creed does it, and they do it so well. Now, the silly teleportation ability in that game has been getting a lot of flack. And I don't know how to feel about that one. I kind of want to watch a little bit more about it before I have a strong opinion.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they're going almost fantastical. And I think that's kind of frustrating for a game that's been based in a lot of suspended reality, I guess. But that's the only gripe that I think I've had about watching or reading anything about that game.
And there may be a good
but
one.
Especially at that price.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Assassin's
Especially at that
Creed.
price point, I can't see any way that I don't buy it.
So that's coming out October 5th if you want to play that. We're going to keep running on these. So another one that comes to Game Pass, Sanfee, which is nice, is Forza Motorsport.
Yep.
Comes on October 10th, 2023 for Xbox Series X and S and PC. So Forza has their Horizon series, which is more the open world, and then the Motorsport is more of a traditional racing one. So that's something I'll just play based on it's on Game Pass, and I like racing games.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
And that's an easy one to get in and do some races. So October 10th. And then October 17th, we get Sonic Superstars for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So that's a new side-scrolling Sonic game.
That would be a good one on the Switch.
Yeah, there's a lot of different characters you
man.
can play. There's a lady called Amy Rose in there who's a Sonic character I'm a big fan of these days. So that's something I want to play. It's just, timing on these. Some of these are going to have to be 2024 purchases.
Before we hit the time to get to it.
Yeah. Because then October 20th.
What a good problem to have, though.
The best problem is going to be on October 20th, 2023. We're getting 2 video games. We're getting Marvel's Spider-Man 2 for PS5. And we're getting Super Mario Bros. Wonder on the Switch on the same day. So I'm definitely committing to buy Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I've beaten the first Spider-Man game, which is amazing. So I should probably play the second one. You get to play as Spider-Man and the Miles Morales, or Peter and Miles Morales in this one. So that's a pretty big day for video games. A pretty big day for everyone's wallet. And
that game was so good.
And
the first one that came out.
It was so good.
So good.
You can definitely go play that still. That came out in 2018. You can play that game on PC now. I don't know if this one will ever come to PC, but for on the 20th, Marvel Spider-Man 2 coming on the PS5. So October 20th is a big day. And then 4 days later, there's the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. So that's all current gen. And that's going to be remastered versions of, I don't know if they're doing too much of these, but Metal Gear 1, 2, and 3. And there's some other of the smaller Metal Gear games that they're going to put on there. There's a physical release and a digital release, so it's a good way to go back and play some.
A fan of that.
Yeah, play some Metal Gear games. I really started playing Metal Gear at 4, so I don't have too much nostalgia for these games, but it could be a cool thing to see from a historical.
Was it 4?
That's
was 4 when...
Sons of the Patriots on the PS3.
That's right.
I love that game.
I watched Jeff play that game forever.
Yeah, that's an amazing game. So then there's Alan Wake 2 comes on October 27, 2023. That's PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. There's no physical release for that pending, so that's a digital only, which is interesting. Okay. But I like Alan Wake 1 a whole lot. That's something I want to play at some point. I've been trying to play more survival horror, so that is, in that vein as well. And then the last game I have on my list here for checking, so the last game I think is possibly a sure buy for the year is Super Mario RPG, which is a remaster of the old game for Switch. It comes out on Switch on 11/17/2023. So a lot of people, I think came out on Super Nintendo, was Super Mario RPG, and they're remastering it, and it's supposed to be one of the greatest takes on RPG, and it's supposed to be super fun. And there's a hardcore fan base that's excited it's getting remastered, so I've been sold a little bit on it just in that. So from 9-6, so that's next Wednesday. I have 10 games here I'm tracking. That's 2 in September, 7 in October, and 1 in November. So
they're playing that Christmas run hard.
yeah, October is a really strong month, and so just get your money and get your games right, and
save your pennies, man.
Save your pennies, and for the meantime, we're going to be playing Starfield. So so just wanted you guys to know that, and that's going to wrap up this mid-section. We've smoked all our mid, and we're going to come back for the final section of the show, which is going to be kind of quick, but we're going to get into some miscellaneous talk. It's going to be some sports talk, so you're going to hear some music. Tell the people here, Sanfee, I like to sometimes tell them things to do before the break. They obviously have to come back and listen to this, but I like to tell them, hey, go put some laundry in. Hey, go pet your dog. What's some nice, what's some things to tell people to go do?
I'm gonna go kiss my boy and grab another beer, and yeah, we're gonna keep rolling.
All right, we'll be back for the final section in just a few. Welcome back to the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 47. We have Sanfee here again for some final thoughts here on the miscellaneous thoughts. All we got to do is talk about some sports today, Sanfee. These people out here know all my fandoms. I call them the official teams of the show. So the official NFL team of the Dep Lewis Show is the Carolina Panthers. I just want to say they should extend Brian Burns. I say that every week until it happens.
I agree with it. Manifest it, man.
I think they're waiting on the Bosa contract, so they can pay Brian just a little bit less. But I want Bosa to get paid so Brian can next. That's my thoughts. And, drop the bag of money off at Brian Burns' house. So the other thing, I told these people I'm playing fantasy football. I'm in the league with Sanfee.
It's true.
There was an over-under on how many Panthers I would pick. And I'll read you guys my team. I got Justin Fields. I got Bryce Young as a quarterback, so there's one Panther. For running backs, I got Saquon. I got Breece Hall. I got DeAndre Swift, A.J. Dillon, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, Zay Flowers, and Adam Thielen. A lot of receivers. And I also have Marvin Mims Jr. But there's 2 Panthers. For tight ends, I got Darren Waller and Hayden Hurst. 3 Panthers. For kickers, I got Jake Moody. And for defense, I got the Carolina Panthers.
4.
So there's 4 Panthers. So I'm going to go as far as the Panthers go.
4 on 19, baby.
A lot of those people are on my bench, which is nice. The Panthers' first game of the season is in Atlanta at 1 p.m. on the 10th, September 10th. And then the first game in Charlotte is Monday Night Football against the Saints on September 18th. And I am going to this game. So you will see me at the Panthers game cheering those fools on Monday night.
Also going to have 2 back-to-back divisional games
to
lead the season.
Really good.
You're going to get a really good idea of the division.
Panthers are going to set the tone.
That's
and then
right.
The first game of the NFL season comes up this week. It's next Thursday. The Lions are playing the Chiefs on the 7th. And this is Thursday night at 8:20. So if you want to watch the NFL, it starts next week. Sanfee, who are your players in fantasy? Who are your top dogs?
Oh, man, I tell you what. I had a really good team. I don't know how you guys let me fleece you like this. I really can't believe that I ended up...
Miscellaneous talk. You can say whatever you want.
I was about to say. We're going to talk about ravioli for a little bit with my boy here.
Bye, cute little kid. Bye.
Yeah, can you say bye-bye?
Bye.
Attaboy. Thank you, buddy. I was pretty salty about the way that our draft kind of went out. I told our boy, our commissioner,
Mr. Pab.
Yeah,
we can call him Pab on here.
He cheated a little bit. He knows he cheated. He did some wrong things.
He took DJ Moore.
I still ended up. That was brutal. I really can't believe he did that. That was bad for him. Ended up getting Austin Eckler with the 6th pick, which I think is an absolute steal. I don't know how that looked.
Oh yeah, what's your team name? Let people know.
My team name is them real funny hecklers.
There you go. Love a pun.
Love a pun. Yeah, so my team for anyone who wants to just be amazed at how I managed to make this happen. I got Justin Herbert, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Kyle Pitts, J.K. Dobbins, and Kenneth Walker. So. The fact that Kyle Pitts is really the weakest member of that team, in my opinion, is pretty solid. My bench right now is James Cook, Dak Prescott, OBJ, Jackson Smith, Najiba, Kadarius Toney, Mike Mayer, and then Jerry Jeudy.
picked him
Justin
up.
Tucker as
Jealous
my
of
big
that.
kicker. I've never lost a season that I've drafted Justin Tucker, so I'm pretty excited about
Yeah,
that.
Sanfee has had some fantasy success in his life. You won at least two ships, maybe three?
No,
In our group?
we're up to 4.
In our group?
5.
In our group only?
Yeah.
And I've never won once. I've gotten second a few times. So, this is my year. I say that every year, but you got this guy bragging about his team over here. Like
I just don't know how to let it happen.
I didn't mean to bring a roster baiter on this podcast today over here.
I'm dry. I got nothing left after I went so far.
Between you and Pav, you guys are just roster baiting all around.
Pav. I hate Pav. Pav managed to pull that Jonathan Taylor pick in like round 5 because we all just sat there in this cold war of pretending like no one was going to pick him, and then it got to round 5, and all of a sudden everyone's like, I think I'm going to pick him next time.
Now he's on the pup though.
He's on the pup, but he's only got 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
He's only got 4 weeks.
But I don't know. I don't know if he's coming back even then. I think that could be more contentious.
Truly, I have to hope that he sits out.
Yeah,
because
if
if he goes to play, I think Pav's going to run away with the league after week 4.
So you're most excited for fantasy football for the football season, right?
I love fantasy football because I love beating Pav.
Yeah.
I think that's like my goal.
That's my goal too. So that's going to start next week on Thursday. So get your eyeballs ready and your ears ready for some football.
Get your roster set, guys.
Get your roster set. Yeah, if you haven't drafted yet, I think you got to get on that.
I got to draft tonight. I don't even know if I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to auto draft.
You have another one coming up
at 8:30.
Dang. Yeah, we're going to be eating some food then. So just to finish this miscellaneous talk section, we're going to talk about the official sport of the Dep Lewis Show and the official team of the Dep Lewis Show, the Atlanta Braves. So since I've talked to you last, they played the Giants last Sunday night. They lost 8-5 on Sunday. And then this week they've been playing the Rockies and the Dodgers. They've had no days off this week. So they won 14-4 against the Rockies on Monday. They won 3-1 Tuesday, won 7-3 Wednesday. So, the Rockies, they handled them pretty well. They beat the Dodgers in LA Thursday, and Ronnie hit his 30th bomb and had his, he had his 60 stolen bases. So he got married that day, then also hit his 30th bomb in a win against the Dodgers. So
what a day.
He's my, my favorite player on the planet, in the universe, Mr. Ronald Acuna. So shout out to him. He's the first player to ever be in that 30-60 club, so he's only going to be raising that bar this year. And
he's still got, 20 games left?
Yeah, there's still, yeah. I mean, we're still playing out here.
Games left for, he could end up realistically being at like 70-75, which is just obscene.
So he is, really making his case for MVP. He's hit 3 bombs in, back-to-back nights in Los Angeles. They've been beating the Dodgers. They beat them Friday night. They beat the Dodgers last night 4-2. It was a really late game. Ronald had a bomb, and then Arcia had a bomb in the 10th to win the game. And Ronald hit a 121.2 mile per hour home run last night. So
third fastest home run that's ever been hit,
and the hardest this year. And then
the hardest this year,
third of all time is insane. So my boys out there,
absolutely
crushing it. So the Braves have actually been playing the Dodgers today since we've been recording. So I'll keep you updated on that result next week, and we're gonna maybe catch a little bit at the end of that. And next week there's no game on Monday. Then the Braves are in Atlanta against the Cardinals on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Me and this guy I'm recording the podcast here will be at the game Wednesday night.
We will.
Cheering against opposite teams. We're gonna ride to Atlanta and see the game. Weather's supposed to be good. That's
supposed to be a great game. I'm really excited about that.
We got one of your other buddies going, so I'll report back. Hopefully a Braves win for my sake, and I'll just tell you about the great time I had last week on this next week on this show. And so the Braves have the Cardinals this week coming up, and then who's the end in the week? Who did I say?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, the Pirates. The Pirates in Atlanta to end the week on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So
what a cakewalk of a week.
I don't know. We're going to see what your boys got to do. But just very good week for some baseball. Hopefully the Braves are winning today, and going to be fun to see some live baseball. So
there's very few times that I've been as excited to go and see Cardinals get absolutely demolished as I am about Wednesday, because
we're going to see Strider and Mikolas, right? That's the plan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously. So Miles Mikolas isn't a scrub. He's a good pitcher, but the Braves have been just decimating everybody, which is just unheard of.
They're doing well.
What they've set the record for team home runs already.
Yeah, already. They're at 90 wins,
and
right?
We've got 30 games left.
Loving it.
They and then Spencer Strider is just an absolute animal. So that's going to be a lot of fun just to see him rack up a whole bunch of Ks. He's not unhittable, but God, he's really close to unhittable. It's just an absolute fucking flamethrower. So that's going to be a really challenging game for me to sit through as a Cardinals fan, but as a fan of baseball, I'm going to be just so happy to be able to see this team go out and just dismantle another team. Then atmosphere at Truist is always really nice. So I'm really excited about Wednesday. That'll be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun. Can't wait to get out to Truist. And, also speaking of fun, this podcast was very fun today. So
yeah, I had a great time.
Thank you, Mr. Sanfee, for joining the show, the official first guest. So, in this world-famous podcast, you're going to look back in history and be like, who's the first guest? It's going to be like on a trivia show one day, and it's going to be Sanfee. And hopefully he'll be back. I think this was a good I think I hope we executed this pretty well. I do these and I try to gauge how well I did. And I think we did pretty good. So I feel like this was a pretty fun time, and we were really pushing up close to dinner time here. So we got to let you guys go this time. We got to let you go as the plan, even though we're the ones doing the podcast. So any final thoughts, Sanfee, to tell the people out here?
No, that was a lot of fun. I really appreciate being here, and hopefully I can come back when we've got some more video game stuff to talk about. And Wednesday, if the Cardinals pull off that miraculous win, then I'll make a little tidbit about your next visit, so I can talk about
and you can send me an audio note, and I can include it in here. So just to wrap this up, I want to tell everyone again to some housekeeping stuff. Follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, review, turn on notifications, tell a friend, email any questions or feedback to DepLewisShow@gmail.com. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Patreon, and more on my Buzzsprout page. Clips are on YouTube and TikTok. Twitch.tv/DepLewisShow is a great place to follow. I don't have a regular schedule there, but maybe at some point I will. And then Patreon.com/DepLewisShow is the greatest place to follow. If you want to support the show, it's $1 a month. It's the ground floor tier. This is a general support tier for the show. You also get ad-free versions of Dep Lewis Show's off-series and songs created by Dep Lewis Show. This is for the first 100 subscribers only, and the price will never change. You'll have access to all Dep Lewis Show Patreon content always. Go now. This is an investment for your entertainment future, is what I say. So thank you guys for listening to this show. First episode on remote location. So just thank you for being a listener. Thank you for being you out there. Happy birthday to Volness again. And this was episode 47. I'll be back for next week for Dep Lewis Show, episode 48. See you next time. Say goodbye, Sanfee.
Bye-bye.
See ya.